Welcome back, everybody, to the SOS Stacey on Sports podcast show, episode number 3, episode Trey. I am your host, Stacey Carter II. Today's guest, all the way on the East Coast, from Boston, Massachusetts, representing Boston well. Y'all got to see his background once this video pop on the screen. The CEO, the founder of CrownHoops, Jordan Daly. The man, the boss is on the show. What's up, man? What's the word?
Hey, what's up, Stacey? Thanks for having me. I'm excited. Is this your third podcast now?
Yeah, my third podcast that I started.
You're killing the game.
Just trying to stay consistent. Like I said, Jordan Daly, he is the founder of CrownHoops, Boston native, LA. We got the LA Boston dynamic thing going on. Even though I still represent St. Louis, but
I respect that.
But we going coast to coast. We going coast to coast. And today we gonna do what we always do. What we do best is we gonna talk about the NBA because there's some crazy trades that went down. There's some crazy trade rumors that's going around, free agent rumors, the draft, et cetera, et cetera. So you ready for this? You ready to take off?
Let's get into it. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. First, we gotta start off with probably the craziest rumor that's going around, the craziest, which is James Harden could be a Brooklyn Net. James Harden, I'll repeat, James Harden could be a Brooklyn Net. There's talks going on that James Harden wants to be traded. He actually turned down a max contract, which is worth $50 million, which will have shattered records. And looks like he wants to head to Brooklyn. He wants to play with KD. He wants to play with Kyrie. Also, I'm hearing rumors that they even might trade James Harden for Kyrie, bring Kyrie into Houston. So, it's a lot going on. But all in all, we got James Harden being very, very interested in going to the Brooklyn Nets. Let's just break this down because this is crazy. This is crazy if it happens. How do you feel about James Harden supposedly want to go to the Brooklyn Nets?
I think there's two ways to look at this, right? You have, the possibility of a super team forming. You have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. That's some insane talent. But then if you break it down and look at it the other way, which is, of course, how I'm looking at it, I see, and I know you're going to give me crap for this, I see someone who causes locker room problems. I see a ball-dominant guard in Harden. I see a ring chaser who wants to have be the number one guy on a team in Kevin Durant. We haven't even got to really see KD or Kyrie play together yet. I think if you add Harden into that mix, there's going to be a lot going on there. But at the same time, it could prove all of the haters, myself included, wrong to show that, they are skilled players. There's no issues there. So I think those are the two ways that most people are looking at it as well is, it's a possible super team to compete with, the Warriors who are going to be back to their, superstar caliber this year. Pending, I don't know if you heard the news about Klay Thompson getting injured earlier today.
I just read that.
Yeah, so we'll see how that works. But, coming out of the East, if they're able to pull that off and they can keep their stuff separate from off the court and just play on the court, I think that's a really terrifying team.
This is absolutely insane. If it happens, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, all on one team. That I don't know what to say to that. It could be like you alluded to. It could be something that's all the way good, or it could be a disaster. You got 3 ball dominant guys. You got 3 guys that need to create. They need to be the focal point on the offense. I don't know who's going to sacrifice what on this team if it happens. But if they can make it work, then, they should go for it. All 3 of them want a ring. Well, Kyrie wants another ring outside of LeBron. Mm-hmm. But this is just crazy. It's like looking at NBA 2K in real life.
Exactly, yeah. This is like the type of team I try to build when I'm playing 2K just because I don't want to lose. Yeah, but if they are able to pull that off, coaching is going to have a real tough job of, getting them to play well together. Yes, separately, they are 3 outstanding players. I'm going to give them that credit. together, though, that's where the trouble is going to be. Those are all guys that want to have the ball in their hand and want to do it all for their teams. It's going to be finding ways to get them to play as a team. And, I hate to bring this up again. If you watch the Crown Hoops podcast, I bring it up a lot. Kyrie in the past has proven he doesn't really want to be a team first player. He wants to, lead that team, but he also did team up with Kevin Durant last offseason, showing that maybe he's understanding that he can't be that number one guy. He needs someone else. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. The trade hasn't even happened yet, if it will. But yeah, definitely something super interesting to watch.
So what if it does happen? What if it does? What's the forecast for the Brooklyn Nets? I don't think that, well, talent wise, as far as on paper, of course, we gonna pencil them in as NBA Finals champions. Matter of fact, we can write that in pen. But like you said, they have Steve Nash, this is first go around, his first year as a head coach. How can he manage all that? In reality, how can he manage three superstar talented players that, they have their own agendas? So I don't on paper and in the video game, of course, they're gonna win the championship. But in real life, I don't know that this exactly is going to equate the championship just because of all the behind the scenes they gotta go through. We've seen this before with teams that pile on superstars on their team and they don't win the championship. We've seen this before. It's all about camaraderie. It's all about making sacrifices. So I don't know if this gets them the ring if it happens. Do you think this get them the ring?
So you mentioned Steve Nash as a coach. One thing I want to throw out there right off the bat is that I think, Steve Nash has a huge advantage in handling the situation as he himself is a former player. So I think he's going to be able to understand a lot more than other coaches in the league would. He's also been bringing in a lot of other former players for his assistant coaches staff. You look at teams that have been successful in, kind of merging a bunch of stars together. The ones that have been successful, former players in the league. You look at Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors. Steve Kerr had a very successful career as a player with Chicago Bulls. So I mean, I think Steve Nash is definitely the right guy for the job in that aspect that, he's going to be able to understand them. I think he'll be able to have a little bit better communication with them rather than, a guy like Greg Popovich, Brad Stevens. I think he's definitely has a leg up in that aspect.
The last question that I thought about when I was reading about this, are the Rockets done? Are they done? Because it seemed like they're having a fire sale right now going on. James Harden could be gone. Russell Westbrook could be gone. They already traded away Robert Covington. Are we seeing the end of the Rockets here?
If they're smart, yes. I think this is the time where they need to kind of just end it. They got rid of their front office guy. They got rid of their coach. It's time to move on. What you had a great team. It didn't work. It wasn't enough. And I think they're at that point. They need to accept that and move on. Right now, they don't have too many great young prospects on that team. And I think this is kind of where you make that turning point, that transition. You get rid of Harden while he's at a great point in his career. He's putting up great numbers. You get rid of Westbrook right before I think we're going to start seeing his decline. I think we're going to start seeing that pretty soon. So I think you start, getting rid of those guys, bringing in assets. What they should be doing is modeling themselves after, what the New Orleans Pelicans just did in the past few years. We saw them flip Drew Holiday as recent of this week. We saw them flip Anthony Davis. And what did they get in return? A bunch of young prospects and a bunch of draft picks. And that is exactly what the Rockets need to do.
Yeah, they have James Harden, about 8 years? It's been 8 years, and
yeah.
It just hasn't worked out for them, unfortunately. They try their best. They try the traditional lineup. They try to build a team around Harden. They try to bring in another superstar, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. They try to go small ball, and they exhausted every resource that they have, and it just didn't work. So they got to start over. It's probably time. It's probably time to start over. I honestly never thought that James Harden would lead the Houston Rockets. I thought he'll been with the Houston Rockets for the remainder of his career, but now I guess he's thinking about a ring. He just won a ring. All he needs is one ring to add to his impressive resume. So this probably is the end of the Rockets. They probably just going to move on. And speaking of moving on, we was hearing about Russell Westbrook demanding a trade. This goes to topic number 2. We was hearing about him demanding a trade. And last week, myself and Ben, we was talking about different teams they could go to. Now here go a new team, the Washington Wizards. There was stories going around that they was going to trade Russell Westbrook for John Wall. Russell Westbrook for John Wall. To me, this doesn't make no type of sense whatsoever. This doesn't make sense for the Rockets side. Like, why the hell would y'all trade away Russell Westbrook for John Wall? Let me start by saying this. John Wall is one of my favorite players to watch. I'm actually cheering for John Wall to make a comeback in the NBA. I hope he gets Most Improved Player of the Year. I hope he goes back to the John Wall of old that we know. But this does not make sense for the Rockets. Why would y'all – to me, both of these players, Wall and Westbrook, they the same type of players. They play the same way. They play the same style. The difference is Russell Westbrook is healthy. When the last time Russell Westbrook had a major injury? You can't think of it. You can't think of it. Versus John Wall has missed a whole bunch of games, the past 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
And his contract is ridiculous. I think he's making like $40 million a year. Why would y'all do that? Y'all just might as well just keep Russell Westbrook. I mean, he's healthier. He's going to be there, triple-double king. Just keep him. I don't know why. I don't know how this makes sense in Rockets' head. Now, for the Wizards, it makes a little bit of sense. You get rid of John Wall and you bring in Russell Westbrook. You're bringing in the healthier version of the player that you just had. Even though I do want to see John Wall and Bradley Beal in the same backcourt. I like that dynamic. But this don't make no type of sense for the Rockets. What do you think about this possible trade?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it makes sense on both ends. I mean, everything what you said about the Rockets is completely true. What we were talking about earlier. You know, they're in an era where they need to rebuild. I mean, bringing on an injury-prone guy who's getting up there in age makes no sense for a team that needs to rebuild. If they couldn't do it with Westbrook and Harden, are they going to do it with an injured John Wall and a bunch of draft picks maybe if they have them? It doesn't make sense. In terms of the Wizards, though, I mean, yeah, I would definitely say Westbrook is a better player than Wall, but in the long run, it really doesn't even make sense. Even when we saw a healthy Beal, we saw a healthy John Wall, and they had a relatively good team a couple of years ago. They couldn't even get past the Boston Celtics with Isaiah Thomas. It just really doesn't make sense to them. If they're trying to make that next push and, make themselves legitimate contenders again, I think they're in the same situation as the Rockets right now. Move on. If I'm having a fire sale, I'm getting rid of Beal. I'm getting rid of Wall. Beal has a ton of value right now. I know a lot of teams are going after him. I wouldn't say this is the year to make any big crazy changes because I'm not too high on the draft class this year. But I definitely think moving forward, they need to try to find a way to get rid of him for some young prospects or draft picks. And that goes for John Wall and Bradley Beal. I think it's time for the Wizards to just move on. I mean, you look at the rest of the teams in the East, you got the Bucks, you got the Celtics, you got the Heat, you got the Nets. There's just no way they're coming out of the East. So it's time to move on for them.
Yeah, man, this going to be a crazy NBA offseason. Like, it's going to happen fast. It's going to happen quick. It's going to be crazy. All right, we got to go to the third one. This is a trade that actually went down. Went down. Drew Holiday, who was very sought after, has been traded. Surprisingly to me, he has been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, which I think this is a great move for the Bucks. I think this is a great move. They definitely upgrade from Eric Bledsoe, who's a solid player, but he's wildly inconsistent. They're going to have somebody in Drew Holiday that's consistent. They'll drop 19, around 19, 20, and will play fantastic defense. I seen a video montage of NBA players, former and current, who asked who was the toughest player that guarded you, toughest defense player. And a lot of them said Drew Holiday. So I think this is a great move for the Bucks. Do you think this is a great move for the Bucks, getting Drew Holiday?
So I think there's two ways of looking at it, right? So on paper, in my opinion at least, I think the Bucks wildly overpaid for Drew Holiday. I think they gave up way too much, to be honest. But when you break it down and kind of look at why, I think the Bucks probably had a talk with Giannis, who's a free agent next year, and said, "Hey, what's it gonna take? What's it gonna take for us to keep you here? What do you need? What do you want to be happy?" Guarantee you, he said a better guard. So the Bucks went off, did whatever they could. Drew Holiday was probably one of the best available guys around that they could get at a reasonable cost. Although I don't think they got him at a reasonable cost, I definitely think they overpaid. But I definitely think that was a move more meant to keep Giannis happy than anything. I
Oh yeah,
definitely
definitely.
think, yeah, I definitely think it's a good fit for the team. But yeah, I think they gave up a little bit too much, but it all makes sense in the long run. I'm fine with it.
I mean, they got to go in because we talking about Giannis here. The franchise, the future of the franchise is on the line. If Giannis leaves, it's over for the Bucks. It's over for them.
For sure.
It's over unless they, hit on in the draft the next few years. But speaking of Giannis, like you said, Giannis is due to be a free agent after next season. Does this keep Giannis long term? He already's pretty much locked in for next year. Does this keep him long term?
In my opinion, the only way Giannis stays is if they make it out of the East. I don't think if they can't make it out of the East this year, I think Giannis is going to call it a day in Milwaukee, and I think he's going to do it a lot of what we see a lot of NBA stars do now: team up with another NBA star and get a ring. Yeah, I don't know what it is. He just can't pull it off Milwaukee. If he can't do that next year with Drew Holiday and whatever else moves are made between now and then, yeah, I think Giannis is gonna call it Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to play this year, throughout this year with Milwaukee. I mean, getting Drew Holiday is big. You still got Chris Middleton. Now, Chris Middleton, that pressure of Chris Middleton to score and pick up the slack, been taken it back a little bit. He could play a little bit more loose. And, I think they're going to make a couple more moves. This does keep them in the fold, but I agree. Like you said, if the Bucks don't make it out the East and reach the NBA Finals, then he's out of there. He's got no question. He's out of there. I mean, he did everything. Well, he did everything he tried. He did everything that he was supposed to do and more. Just didn't work. Just didn't work. Milwaukee is a tough place to win a championship in. So I think he's out of there, and I think he'll end up on a big market team. Big market team. I could see Miami. I could see Golden State, which would be terrible for the NBA.
He can go to
But
the West. Can you please go to the West? Send him
make way for the Boston Celtics, huh? Just
exactly,
make
safety. You feel me? You get it.
Now, come on, you gotta take down him, John. You can't be afraid of Giannis. You gotta take him down.
I mean, we have every year so far, so except for 1 year. I think they beat us 1 year, but yeah, Boston bus, baby.
All right, so we got that another trade. Oh my God, all these trades. Another trade went down. It was a big deal. It was a big deal. Chris Paul to the Suns. Chris Paul to the Suns. This would definitely help the Suns in a long run. We've seen the impact of Chris Paul with the Thunder, the 1 year with the Thunder. Carried them all the way to the fifth seed. They went down to the last game 7 against the Rockets. They had a chance. But, them being a young team, they are not going to know how to close out. And then he left the Thunder in a great position. Now they should be on up and up. I think the same thing is going to happen with Phoenix. I think the same thing is going to happen with Phoenix. This was Devin Booker. This is what he needed. They try to make Devin Booker like a two-way guard. Try to make him a playmaker and the scoring and all that. And I don't think that that's his strong suit. I think that if he can concentrate on scoring a little more and then, be a secondary playmaker, that'd be a perfect role for him. So I think this will help the Suns' playoff chances. I think this will help their chances. What do you think about this trade?
I mean, I think it was a great move for them. I think that's a huge piece for the Suns. Pretty much what you said. Devin Booker was being forced to do too much on that team. So I think bringing in Chris Paul will be a huge help for him to try to get him more open for, shots. Ultimately, what he is he's a shooting guard. He's a great 3-point shooter. They need to find ways to get him more open. I mean, we saw in the NBA bubble how lethal Devin Booker really can be. I mean, they finished 8-0 in the bubble. They are a good team. There's no doubt about that. They're just in an extremely tough and tight conference. Sorry. I was talking with one of my friends who is a Suns fan, and I asked him about kind of what he thought about the Chris Paul trade and kind of where he wants to see the Suns go from there. And, his response, which I definitely agree with, I looked into it and it's a great idea, is that he would like to see the Suns draft a point guard this year and kind of have Chris Paul be a mentor to him, have Chris Paul kind of train him up throughout the next few years. Chris Paul's getting up there in age. He's not going to be around forever. The Suns definitely want to be prepared for when he leaves. So I think it would be really smart to try to bring in another young point guard and have, one of the best to ever do it in Chris Paul to be his mentor. I think that would be, people forget how young the core of the Suns is. I mean, they're a very good team. They just, they're extremely young. They haven't really had that veteran presence. And now they kind of have that experience they need. So I think moving forward, they're going to be a very, very scary team. I would say that they're going to be shooting around the 4th and 5th seed in the West next year.
Whoa. 4th or 5th seed, the Suns, the 4th?
Yeah.
All the way to 4th or 5th?
I'll probably go with the lower of the two at the 5th, but I definitely think they're going to be a good playoff contender this year. I think they have a chance of making a run. They got DeAndre Ayton, who's extremely undervalued.
Yeah.
They're a good team. And, now they're going to have that veteran presence, that they're going to have a legitimate leader now that Devin Booker has always been kind of forced to be. Devin Booker is 24, 25 years old?
Yeah.
He's extremely young. So now we're going to have a guy that's been in the playoffs before, a guy that's broken records, won awards, come into this team and be a true leader for them. I think that's going to be extremely important for them. So I think that's going to be a big piece.
As an NBA fan in the whole picture, I always want to see those teams, those classic teams that we used to seeing in the playoffs. I always want to see them climb back. I want to, just to have their names back in the playoffs. And one of the teams that I've been wanting to get back to the playoffs is the Phoenix Suns. I think they are an exciting team. I think they do have great young pieces, but my thing about the Phoenix Suns for years has always been coaching, and now they got a solid head coach, and then now they got Chris Paul, who's like a head coach on the floor. I like the Suns' chances of making the playoffs. I don't know about 4th seed. I don't know about 4 in the West, but I think that they can get in. We got the Rockets sliding down. I don't know how the Jazz are going to pan out. I don't know how the Thunder are going to pan out. They do lose leadership. Mm-hmm. We can see the Suns taking one of those spots. I think that'd be nice.
Good this year, Stacey. I'm telling you, they're gonna be sneaky good. They're gonna surprise a lot of people this year.
Yeah, I've been looking for them to be good. I thought they was gonna compete for a spot last year, a little sooner. But on to my side over here, the West side. We gotta talk about the Lakers. The Lakers landed Dennis Schroeder. Speaking of Thunder, landed Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder's now a Laker. Is this a big deal, having Dennis Schroeder on that team now?
I think it's a huge upgrade from what they had. But, I mean, they're NBA champions. Nothing's really a big deal if they add anyone anymore. I mean, over the CrownHoops podcast, we got Mike White. I'm going to tell you what Mike White says all the time, who's stopping AD. So, at the end of the day, Dennis Schroeder means nothing to that team. Yes, he's a huge upgrade from what they had, but come on. That's a crazy good team to begin with, so.
The dude, they don't even have a team no more. Everybody's a free agent on the team. So like 3 people.
Yeah, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Dennis Schroeder. That's all you need.
No. I seen some pictures talking about this a big 3. This is not a big 3, y'all. Dennis Schroeder, although he's cool, he not that. He not on that level. But I do think this is an upgrade at the guard position. They need this. LeBron can't run point guard for 48 minutes. He can't do it. Rondo, although he was effective in the back end of the playoffs, he's injury prone now. We love
Rondo though. We love Rondo.
Yeah. Shout out to Rondo. Well, before I move on, how you feel about Rondo getting a ring in purple and gold?
So he's the first player in NBA history to actually win a ring for both the Celtics and the Lakers, which is really cool. But I love it. I love Rondo. When Rondo was here, he was an animal. He was like my Marcus Smart back then. You know what I mean? This guy's always diving for balls, always hustling. You know how much I value that. So, I like it a lot. I love seeing him win.
Yeah, back to Dennis Schroeder. This is an upgrade. They do need I was thinking about this. The Lakers going in all season. They do need guards. They need, better guard play, better perimeter play at that guard position. And then also he has youth on his side. Dennis Schroeder, he has youth on his side. They're gonna definitely need that on the team. The team, last year was filled with veterans, players 30 and older. Now they getting a little younger with Dennis Schroeder, and hopefully Anthony Davis re-signs for the long term. If they do, I mean, the question here is, do this give them a better chance to repeat as champions?
It's a tough call. I mean, if they're able to, in my opinion, it kind of comes down to LeBron. If LeBron's able to do what he did last year, easily. He's kind of defying, what everyone kind of knows about aging basketball players. Usually when guys get up that age, every year they start declining a little bit more, and that's not the case with LeBron. So, my biggest question is, when is his decline going to start? If it's going to start this year, I think it would be tough for them to get back. But if he's the same animal he was this year, paired with Anthony Davis, now Dennis Schroeder, if they can get a nice supporting cast in, I definitely think it's possible. But like you said, there's a lot of free agents this year on that team. So it all comes down to how they're going to fill that. And I think they're at an advantage this year where they kind of realize what worked, what didn't work. And now they're pretty much going to have a clean slate to build that team again. So, yeah, definitely interesting. I definitely think they have a possibility of, making a back-to-back. I hope they don't, because Celtics need to have more championships.
Again, you can't be afraid of a little comp. If it comes down to Boston, comes down to the Lakers, you got to be confident that Boston to take them, even though they won't.
Hey, I would love that, honestly. I would love to see a Celtics-Lakers final. That's what I was rooting for this last year. Unfortunately, the Heat had to come out of nowhere and be crazy good. So next year. We got that next year.
Yeah, I think the Lakers should be favored to repeat. I mean, essentially you got the same two, the dominant two, we all know, then Dennis Schroeder, and I'm pretty sure they're going to fill out the rest of their roster with players who did similar things to the players that's probably going to be out of there. So I think they got it. I think it, again, like I said last year on Crown Hoops, and I said on Cardi and Claire, it all depends on Anthony Davis, not even LeBron. Because like you said, it's going to be a point where LeBron, that age is going to creep up. He's going to be 36 when the season starts. That age is going to be a fact. We kind of already see it a little bit stemming back from the 2018-2019 season, where LeBron, he'll probably take off a quarter and then kind of pass it on to the team. He won't be so dominant, be facilitating. Then he'll turn it on and all that stuff. So we see LeBron using his mind more than his body on the court. So it's going to be on Anthony Davis again. It's going to be on the other people again, because LeBron's going to do what LeBron feel like he should do in the game. So I think it'll work out for him. So
how confident are you that they're going – so do you think they're going to go back to the finals, or are you confident they're going to win it too?
I think they can win it.
Okay.
I think they can win it. I'm not making a prediction. It's not an official prediction, because
everyone write it down. Stacey's calling it now.
we gotta wait. We gotta wait to how things pan out. We gotta wait till we get to December. The least supposed to start December 22nd. We gotta wait to that point, because everything hasn't played out yet. But I think as of right now, they should be the favorites to win it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's play a little game here. I like to play little games, and we're gonna play true or false. True or false. I'm gonna read out 5 statements, and you gotta tell me whether it's true or it's false. People that's listening, people that's watching, he don't know what I'm about to ask him, so he gotta be on his toes. I think Jordan's locked in. Jordan, you're locked in.
Let's do this. I'm locked in. I'm ready to go.
Let's do it. Number 1. Anthony Davis will re-sign long-term with the Los Angeles Lakers. True. He better.
I think 100%.
He better. It never makes sense. Yeah, it never makes sense to me. People leaking him to Chicago. Why the hell would he want to go to Chicago right now?
Well, that's his hometown, so I get that. But I mean, my thing before this season was, I think there's a chance he goes to Chicago if he's not able to win it with the Lakers. But Once they won it, zero chance. He's resigning. He'd be done.
Not a chance. Even if they didn't win it, I don't think Chicago is the best place for anybody right now. All right, number 2. Speaking of the NBA draft, LaMelo Ball will have a better career than Lonzo Ball.
False. Yeah, I'm not too high on LaMelo. I think Lonzo is very underrated and doesn't get the credit he deserves because of all the drama and controversy he had when he first entered the league with his dad, LeVar Ball, obviously. So, no, I think Lonzo is a very, very good player that's very undercredited and undervalued. I think we'll see his stock rise a little bit once the Pelicans players and all the draft picks start maturing a little bit and getting better over time. I think we'll see his stock rise. But I'm not too high on LaMelo, to be honest. And it's really hard to answer that as well, saying we don't know where LaMelo is going to fall. And it also depends on, what the situation he's going to be in into the NBA right off the bat. So too hard to call for now. But right now I like Lonzo over him.
I'm hearing that the Hornets will take him at 3 if he falls to 3. What do you think about that, him with the Hornets?
Yeah, that's like getting drafted by the Cleveland Browns in football terms. So, I mean, yeah, that even strengthens my statement of Lonzo.
Oh my God, not the Cleveland Browns.
You got to bring it into it. I mean, Baker Mayfield kind of broke that curse a little bit. He's doing good for now. We'll see how long it lasts. But, I mean, let's look at the track record there. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's in the water. Cleveland Browns, I don't know what they're doing. But LaMelo, he's a confusing prospect to me. Mm-hmm. I think he has sort of the mentality to get better. But then I think he also falls in the trap of playing spoiled basketball. Like, okay, that was a game where he dropped 92, but he didn't play any defense at all. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where his head is fully, but I think that he does love the game. I think he does love basketball. I think that if he's under the right situation, right coaching, they're going to bring the best out of him. I think offensively, he's more talented. At scoring, I think he's more talented than Lonzo. Mm-hmm. I don't think he has Lonzo's passing ability and Lonzo's defense, but I think he got to be under the right coach, the right situation to bring it out of him.
That's not it.
Let's go to number 3 before the Charlotte come after you.
Sorry, Michael.
Zach LaVine will be traded from the Chicago Bulls.
False.
Yeah. You think
I think I'll say it. I like Zach LaVine a lot. I think Chicago has a chance. I think they're like 2 pieces away from being playoff contenders. They got Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr. I think they're kind of like a wingman or true point away from, being a great team.
You don't like Kobe White?
Not yet. I think he needs to do a little bit more. I'm just not too high on it yet. AD goes to them though. That's a team right there. Just saying.
That is not a team. AD, you're gonna be in the same situation you was in with the Pelicans.
Yeah, I like Zach LaVine a lot though. I would be surprised if he left Chicago.
Yeah, I think LaVine's problem was what was the last head coach name? Jim Boylan. Yeah, that whole thing. That was. Yeah. But I think it's just again, like I was saying with the Phoenix Suns, Chicago is one of those teams that I'm waiting for to get back in that playoff picture. I think they have the young guys. I like Zach LaVine. I like how he grew his game because we just knew him as a dunker, and over the last 3 or 4 seasons, we know him as a scorer. So I think I like the Bulls prospects, but we'll see. Coaching is key again. All right, number 4. The Miami Heat will land a big free agent before the season starts.
I really hope false. No, that's tough. So I'll say false. I really don't think Miami Heat are going to want to mix anything up too much. We saw how good that team was with their young prospects and Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. They're only going to get better. I think kind of adding a major free agent would really mix up chemistry-wise, everything that they've had. If I'm the Miami Heat, maybe I add 1 or 2 role player contributor roles, Other than that, I'm leaving that team as is. They're a very, very good team. At this point, if you're the Miami Heat, play it out. You made it to the Eastern Conference Final. You made it to the NBA Finals, right? Let them play it out. I wouldn't mix anything up too big. If they do, I just want it to be like a small free agent. Major.
Yeah, I think they need like a point guard that can run the team, facilitate the offense, and they could probably use another big man. They could probably get another big man that can get boards. But yeah, like you said, for the most part, lead their team together, see what they can do next year. And
Aaron
if it don't
Baines
work,
is a free agent.
Aaron Banks, he'll be a nice fit for him. Not too much money gonna go into him. He'll give you productive minutes. I mean, that'd be a nice fit. But I think they should wait till 2021 to bring in.
That's the big draft year. Yep.
Yeah, they gotta bring it. All right, number 5. Number 5. Last one. If things kind of stay the same, if teams kind of stay the same in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics should be the favorites to win the East next year.
Everything stays the same?
Yeah, everything stays the same or similar, not too big changes.
So, like, is Hayward staying on the Celtics?
I mean, whether he on the Celtics or not.
You're killing me, Stacey. I'm gonna say true. I don't think I've me on the Crown Hoops podcast. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm really not afraid of the Bucks. Obviously they have the addition of Drew Holiday now, possibly Bogdanovich. They made a trade yesterday, and now Bogdanovich is saying he never agreed to the sign and trade deal. So we'll see what goes on with that. I'm just not too afraid of the Bucks. Miami, I don't want to take anything away from them. They had an incredible run and they're a great team. I think it would be tough for them to repeat what they did. Boston is still my favorite, pending no crazy moves are made. I think the Celtics going into draft night tonight have a huge opportunity to make changes, much needed changes. So, if I'm the Boston Celtics, unless I can get James Wiseman or Obi Toppin, I am trading every single one of my picks in this year's draft, because we do this every year. We have so many picks, and then they sit on our bench or they go play for the Maine Red Claws. Like, yeah, the Maine Red Claws win the G League championship, and we have the G League MVP, but like that means nothing for the Celtics. So I really don't want to see us draft really any more young players unless they're going to make an instant impact, like I think James Wiseman would. Other than that, we got to trade those picks and package them. I think we have a great opportunity with Hayward. I've heard rumors that Hayward is not planning on staying in Boston. He's either walking or agreeing to a trade and sign if the Celtics can find the right suitor for that. If I'm the Celtics, I'm going to take Hayward. I'll package him give him all the picks this year's draft. It doesn't bother me doing that. And, get a true 5, get, a bigger 4, get a little bench help. It needs to be one of those two. I mean, I'm pretty high on Robert Williams this year. I think given more minutes, he'll be able to produce more. So I think we're set with that. But I mean, if we could pair him with a true 5, I think that would be a huge, huge, huge plus for the Celtics. So a lot to look for this year. Just know that if the Celtics make any draft picks this year that aren't James Wiseman or Obi Toppin, I'm going to be screaming at my TV. So with that said, I still favor the Celtics.
Yeah, I think, of course, the Celtics should be the favorites to win the East next year. I mean, they got, they still got Brown, Tatum, Kemba Walker,
Marcus Smart,
who, man, stock risen last year, especially in the playoffs. But the Celtics are not going to win the East or win the championship without making changes this offseason. And I agree. I've been on board of saying this. They got to move on for Gordon Hayward. They got to move on from him. I mean, first of all, he always been a weird fit with this team. This team is wing heavy. You got Jason Tatum sometimes lining up at the 4, which makes no sense if you think about it. He hasn't been there. He missed like half the games he could have possibly played, and they've won without him. Matter of fact, pretty efficient offense without him. So I think they gotta move on from him. Some of those picks, like you mentioned, that they drafted before, they gotta do something with them too. Because I mean, we talked about this. I don't know what they're doing with Romeo Langford. I don't know how they developing him. I don't know what's the deal with that.
He's killing it in Maine.
He can't do nothing. You gotta do something in Boston. Maine is cool, but Boston, what was he, 14th overall last year?
Yeah, so that's my thing.
He should be playing. I don't think he's that bad.
I just think it's weird with the Celtics. The Celtics, you look on paper, they have a great roster, but it's just built so weirdly. Like you said, we have way too many guards, we have way too many wings, and we really don't have any true five on our roster. So I think, like we were both saying, like moves need to be done. Out of the rookies we drafted last year, the only one I really like that made an impact is Grant Williams, and I think he's very undervalued and underplayed. 2 years ago, Rob Williams, great board getter, very board dominant, great shot blocker. Didn't really get any playing time until later this season when we really didn't have any other options. And you know how I feel about Brad Stevens after, the recent playoffs. That's another big question mark is Brad Stevens the guy? And, we've been talking hoops for 2-3 years now. And I never would admit that until after this playoffs this year. So that's another thing that people need to be watching is, when is Brad Stevens' time up? How much longer do you give him? Yeah, he was great when we didn't really have a great roster of guys and Isaiah Thomas, that kind of era. But, ever since we've had a great roster, it's Eastern Conference Finals and out every single time, and except for one time where he only made the conference finals. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Oh, to round off the episode, we do have free agency to look for. That's supposed to kick off November 20th, I believe.
Yep.
So when we start making moves. We already touched on the Boston Celtics. What are you looking for as far as this free agency period is concerned? Like, what are your things that you keep in the back of your head?
Christian Wood is my biggest target. I think Christian Wood has a potential to help out any team right off the bat. The market he was in before in Detroit, it's not really a big basketball city anymore as much as it was. So I think a lot of eyes passed on him. I think Christian Wood paired with the right team would be a beast. So obviously I want the Celtics to sign Christian Wood. This year I'm not expecting too much to be done. I think a lot of guys are going to get overpaid way more than value. And I think it's going to be coming from, kind of desperate teams like Charlotte. Again, I hate to throw them under the bus, but, guys like them.
Charlotte. Oh my God.
Because what people have to remember is next year's free agency is going to be insane. So I think a lot of people are going to be trying to save money for that. Maybe we'll see a couple 1-year deals here and there. But I don't expect too much craziness to be happening with this free agency. The only thing I really look forward to is I feel like there's going to be a lot of trades this offseason.
Yeah. That's the thing for me right there. I think that there's going to be a whole bunch of trades. We still going to be working on that. As far as like people that's like signing, like purely free agents, like I don't think there's going to be too many crazy moves right there. Like, the biggest free agent right now is Anthony Davis, and all signs point to him returning to LA. So
yeah, how much of a free agent is he really? So
right. So you get that out the way. I mean, it's nothing to really look forward to. Then you got to think that these free agents got to turn everything around in a short amount of time. They got to move to the city. Then we got the COVID thing revving back up again, and it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot. I don't think we're gonna see too many crazy moves. I think we're gonna see a lot of subtle moves. The Celtics are one of the teams I'm watching for this free agency because I think that this is, especially for Brad Stevens, this will be like the last straw, the last ride before major changes happen. Like if the Boston Celtics don't make it out the East, I think Brad Stevens is gone. I just think it's gone. I think he'll max out, and then they have to take from there. So I'm looking at them. I'm looking at the Brooklyn Nets if they land James Harden, or they move around some pieces, try to build around KD and Kyrie. Of course, I'm going to be watching the Lakers. And also, I'm going to be watching the Clippers, too. I want to see how they bounce back. What's going to happen with that team with, what had transpired, them getting eliminated early after being up 3-1. So we got to see what's going on with them. We got to see what's happening with them.
For sure, yeah. I mean, Clippers are an interesting team. I don't think anyone expected them to go out as early as they did. I think everyone was kind of banking on a Lakers-Clippers Western Conference Finals. If I'm the Clippers, I may look to move on from Paul George. He didn't perform as well as they had thought. I think that they could still get a lot of value out of him in the trade market. It depends on, what direction they want to go. At the same time, I think Kawhi Leonard would be very, very upset if the Clippers were to trade Paul George, because then it would look more like a rebuilding phase, unless they got like a lot of great talent out of it. I mean, there's so many ways to look at this. So it's tough.
I think Paul George's trade value has taken a nosedive. I don't think teams going to give up a lot for him. It will be disappointing on Kawhi's part that, one of the reasons why he went to the Clippers because they were able to get Paul George, and you give up Paul George after one season. But, him and Paul George is a weird because, again, what we were saying about John Wall and Russell Westbrook, they the same type of player, but Kawhi just does it better. But they still the same type of player, though. So how is that going to work exactly as far as wins? So I think they're going to keep Paul George for one more year, because ain't he a free agent 2021? Just like so I mean, I think they're going to ride it out one more time. I just want to see like what happened with like Montrezl Harrell or Lou Williams. Yeah, Montrezl Harrell's a free agent.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with that. But that was the end of SOS, Stacey on Sports Podcast Show, episode number 3. I had Boston's own Jordan Daly, CEO, founder of Crown Hoops. Check out crownhoops.com. Go ahead and plug the rest of your social medias. Where can people find you?
Everything on my social media is at Jordan Daly NBA. Obviously, we got Crown Hoops at Crown Hoops. And make sure you listen to me, Stacey, and the rest of the guys on the Crown Hoops podcast.
Oh yeah. Definitely go check that out. I highly recommend it. 5 out of 5 stars.
No bias there, right?
Yeah, no bias whatsoever. They got a great team right there, especially Stacey Collier second. Something about that guy. But.
Yeah, he's just awesome, man. Unbeatable. Except when it comes to
but it wouldn't be possible without Jordan Daly. But until next time, I'm out. Signing off.